Creating dreamy, blurry backgrounds, also known as bokeh, in our photography can not only help us make our subject stand out more, but can also create a cinematic effect that can transform an okay scene into something magical. Achieving a nice blurry background, however, generally requires you to open up your lens's aperture fairly wide, anywhere from f2.8 and lower. The problem? Lenses with a maximum aperture of f2.8 or lower are generally expensive, and I mean very expensive. So most aspiring photographers are stuck purchasing lenses with a maximum aperture of f4. These lenses can produce a reasonable amount of bokeh, but for some photographers, they may be left longing for that really dreamy bokeh effect that only faster apertures can provide. Until now. If you, like most photographers, use Adobe Lightroom to edit your photos, you may be surprised to find out that they recently released a new feature called lens blur, which essentially allows you to create dreamy background blurs on any photo, even if you shot the photo with a very narrow aperture. Lightroom uses AI to determine the subject in your photo and then creates a realistic blur behind it, which can be adjusted as you see fit. I've tried lens blur out on a few photos and honestly, the results have been very good and natural looking. The feature is being called an early release and I've only seen it on Lightroom Mobile, so it may not be out for everyone yet. It has its own tab in the editing panel though, which is identifiable through a teardrop-looking icon. If you do have lens blur in Lightroom, it's super easy to use and also lots of fun. Here's a quick run through of how you can use it to create dreamy, blurry backgrounds in your photos today to help you avoid dishing out thousands of dollars in new lenses. When editing a photo in Lightroom, open the Lens Blur tab. To start the lens blur process, all you need to do is start dragging the blur amount slider to your desired blur level, and then Adobe's AI system will automatically detect the subject and apply a lens blur. After the lens blur has been applied, you can further refine the blur and change the overall look and feel of the effect. Firstly, you can change the amount of blur within the image. The more blur you add, the more your photo is going to look like it was shot with a super wide aperture. The less blur you add, the more it'll look like it was shot with a narrow aperture. Secondly, you can adjust the overall look of the bokeh you've created to really give it a true to life feel. Adobe gives you 5 bokeh looks to choose from: circle, bubble, 5-blade, ring, and cat's eye. Each of these options creates a different bokeh effect that's reminiscent of different types of modern and vintage lenses. Lastly, you can use the focal range section to change what subject you'd like in focus. As I stated earlier, Lightroom's AI will automatically attempt to focus on the main subject in your image. This is identified in Lightroom as subject focus. If you want to create a more artistic effect where your subject is actually out of focus, however, there is also an option called point focus, which allows you to manually select what's in focus by clicking or dragging on the photo. And that's it. In just a few steps, you'll have created realistic looking bokeh in your image. So, can Lightroom's new lens blur tool really eliminate the need to purchase expensive lenses with wide maximum apertures? I'd say no. There's something really special about creating a certain look right in camera, and certain lenses provide characteristics that software can't replicate in my opinion. As an additional post-processing tool, however, I do think it can be useful for tweaking photos where you wish you had used a bit of a wider aperture out in the field, or if you just want to get creative in the editing process. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and whether this tool is something that you'll start using in your photo editing process. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe to my channel.